Okay, well, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining the virtual Meet the Grad for the Chemical and Mechanical Engineering and Aviation. My name is Wendy Mackey and I'm the Director of Alumni Relations. And it's my pleasure to be your host this afternoon to guide you through the different sessions taking place today. Meet the Grad is a long-standing event at Mohawk that has provided a great opportunity for students to build connections with graduates working in their field of study and also to learn about current sector trends. As you can see, we are doing things just a little bit differently this year. While we're not able to meet in person, we hope you enjoy hearing from and networking with the Mohawk alumni and industry professionals with us this afternoon. We have a great lineup of panel discussions and employer exhibitor booths that are designed to help you in your planning for life after Mohawk. This year's Meet the Grad event is hosted in partnership with Alumni Relations, Student and Graduate Employment, Co-op, and Mohawk faculty. Before we begin, and even though you are joining us from your home, we are virtually gathered at Mohawk College. And it's important for us to remember and to acknowledge that Mohawk College is situated on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe Nations, with lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement, and is currently home to many Indigenous people across Turtle Island. We will begin today's events with remarks from our keynote speaker, followed by 3 alumni and industry panels focused on different areas of chemical and mechanical engineering and aviation. These panels will begin at 4:45 and will feature alumni for chemical and mechanical engineering, biotechnology, and aviation. After the panel discussions at 5:30, you will have an opportunity to visit employer exhibitor booths. You will find both the panels and the employer exhibitor booths along the top menu and on the right-hand side of your screen. Once you select your choice, it will bring you to a new page where that event is taking place. We encourage you to ask alumni panelists questions using the chat box feature. If you should have any questions at all or challenges throughout the virtual event, please feel free to reach out to staff that we have on hand to assist you. All you need to do is email alumni@mohawkcollege.ca and someone will be there for your support. To begin this afternoon's virtual event, it is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Kevin Ford. Kevin Ford, a Mohawk College mechanical engineering technology graduate and successful serial entrepreneur, is working on reversing the offshoring of jobs to other countries. His specialties include taking high-tech products from conception to market dominance with a small, highly effective team. Kevin forms and leads teams that conceive, develop, and deliver high-tech computer-based software and hardware products, plus services for governments, Fortune 500 companies, and SOHO markets. Kevin, we are thrilled to have you join us all the way from Ottawa today to share your career journey with our students. Without further ado, I'll pass the microphone over to you.
Hello, everyone. Just give me a second to get this thing started. Can you hear me? I'm going to assume that's a yes. So you've done your time at college, and it's a good system, but it won't serve you throughout your entire career. You've got 45 years of working time for most people, and we don't know what's going to happen the next 5 years in the technology world, let alone 45 years. So it used to be that you worked for a large company and they took the responsibility of grooming you throughout your entire career. That's no longer the case. You've got to take responsibility for your own career development. And reviewing mine might shed some light on what you may expect in the future.
Kevin, if I can just interrupt, your PowerPoint presentation isn't showing.
It is not. Thanks for telling me that.
Sorry to interrupt.
Is it now?
Yes, it is. Just needs to be in presentation view.
Thank
There
you.
we go.
Thank you. Okay, so today you're going to get 5 minutes of a 45-year career. You're going to witness mistakes, victories, challenges, and if you pay attention, you may see some common threads of how my career developed. And it's just one story. You should listen to a lot of others. So let's get started. I'm a Mohawk mechanical technologist, a 3-year program, and I did 3 co-op work terms, 1 at Stelco and 2 at Ontario Hydro. At Stelco, I worked on the blast furnace overhaul using project management tools, where I input all sorts of PERT data using punch card readers to a mainframe computer. Yes, I am that old. The next 2 work terms, I worked for Ontario Hydro in their quality assurance department, where with a senior inspector, we traveled all over Southern Ontario inspecting components that were being built for large hydro generation plants, nuclear and coal-fired. And after graduation, I went to DeFasco, where I did 12 months of trainee programs there, working in 3 different departments. And at the end of that, the last one was the research and development department. And with their encouragement, I decided to go to Lakehead and get an engineering degree in 2 years. Mostly it was because the salary grids that they were offering for technologists at the time were closer to draftsmen than they were engineers. It just didn't seem right. So I went and got the piece of paper. Today, that's no longer true, and I'm not sure I would have made the same decision. So Lakehead, there was a work summer in between. Then I went to my first job after graduation in Ottawa, working for Supply and Services. And they weren't sure whether they should hire a lawyer and teach them technology, or hire a technologist engineer and teach them law. But ultimately, they needed someone who could write contracts for highly complex technical stuff. And so I started working there in their aerospace and armament product center, and I was buying or doing contracts for rotary aircraft. Here's some examples of that. For you in aerospace, you note the small landing platform on that DDH-280 destroyer. And then now add 50-foot waves, pitching, rolling, heaving, and gusts of wind. And how on earth did they ever land on that thing? And you'll notice on the picture on the left, there's a steel cable under the helicopter and a winch. They would lower the cable, it would hook up to the winch. The pilot would then go full throttle, and then they would winch the helicopter down onto the deck, no matter whether the ship was heaving or not. And then they would just haul it right into the hangar. No other Navy in the world can land that size on the ships of that size. And it was one of those smack your forehead for the rest of the world's navies. It's the kind of thing we learned to do because our budgets are so small. Because Supply and Services was happy with me, and because they needed contractors to buy ships and they couldn't hire any, they encouraged me to go to the University of Michigan to get a master's in naval architecture and marine engineering on full salary and expenses. So I took them up on their offer. And we did some tours. Here's a Great Lakes ore carrier, a modern type, which is the view from the wheelhouse. And not likely you're going to see that little sailboat in front of you when you're streaming up and down the lakes on this baby. And you're 9-10 stories above the water while you're doing it. I did a summer work term at Vancouver shipyards. For your aerospace guys, note the nozzles around those propellers for more traction and more protection of the blades. Then when I graduated, went back to Supply and Services, where I did Marine for a while and then specialized in ship weapon systems for the Canadian Navy. My thing was exocet harpoon missiles and a big 5-inch gun that would blow things up. It was a lot of fun. I traveled the world looking at various systems with ships captains, submarine captains, and guys from big long-range patrol aircraft who would drop all of these missiles on the bad guys. After about 4 years of that, I was worried that if I didn't get back into engineering. No one would hire me again. So I transferred over to another department, and who's Public Works, and they had a big project to put solar energy in all of their buildings. They're the largest landlord in the country, running all federal buildings. So my job was to search the world for good computer programs to design solar for a particular building, put them up on a mainframe computer, and then teach all the architects out there in the country to use the software. As a result of that, I was recruited by a new company that made workstations for engineers to do design. So I left the government at that point. And from there, Hewlett Packard bought Apollo. I stayed for a year, and then I was recruited by Silicon Graphics, who are the world's leader in computer graphics. I worked there for a couple of years, and then I spotted a hole in the market where many people did not want to buy computers. They wanted to buy hardware, software solutions. So I formed my own company to do systems integration work on Unix computers. And we got a dealership for Next Computer, which is what Steve Jobs did when he left Apple. Next is a Unix-based system, and we used it for deployment across many projects that we had in the country. And we became the largest dealer in the country for Next Computers. And some of the projects that we did, we designed and built the Transfer Canada's crisis management system. At the time, it was a thing of science fiction, and Tom Clancy would have been proud of the thing. We also overhauled the security system of the National Gallery of Canada, 500 CCTV cameras, several thousand sensors, hundreds of door lock card readers, all into a central computer, all done by our company of 12 people. While we're at it, we wrote an entirely web-based school administration system, which got the attention of some very large organizations, and we got into a bidding war. Two multi-billion-dollar education software companies and Apple all tried to buy the company. I sold to one of the non-Apple options, and then the bottom line, I could retire. So at the age of 42, I started to acquire all the toys and all the distractions that you get when you get silly and have too much money and time on your hands. And that was a lot of fun, but it lasted 3 months. I got bored. I started another company called Parliant. And our first customer was General Motors. They had us write their first iPhone application for them. That's the one on the right. And then folks like that, word got around. And so Hollywood came calling, and we did the Ballroom Dance Channel application. It was big for a time there. And as a result of that and some other press, I was asked to be a keynote speaker at Macworld, where I talked about the business aspects of doing iPhone applications. And along the way, we won a few awards, best of show at Macworld Expo, which is 60,000 to 80,000 people showing up. We won the best product of the year in all of Ottawa at a time when World Heart and Mitel and Nortel were all making products. And we won the best product of the year for Macworld Magazine worldwide. And we did all that with a company of 5 guys working on the second floor over the garage in my house. That was very successful for a while. And then I decided to stop doing iPhone applications because we figured out how to do it all through a web browser on any mobile device out there using HTML5. And so we were a multi-platform developer for a while. And then I got sick for a while, sold the company, got better, and formed another one called Onshoring Ventures. And this is where we try to figure out how we can bring manufacturing jobs back to Canada, so guys like you who are well trained have a place to work. And most of the jobs are gone forever, but if you're intelligent about it, there are opportunities where we can compete on a world stage, and certainly we can deliver products to our own. These are examples of the stuff that are manufactured in my garage workshop, which has a CNC machine in it and a vacuum molding machine, both that we built to do low volume manufacturing by small businesses. So we wanted to prove the theories that it could work by actually running a business like that, and to do the pundit of getting the word out there of what you can do to build and compete on a world stage as a small organization. Here's some pictures of some of the things that we knocked off on that machine. There's a machine on the left. These are small market things which a couple of years ago you couldn't afford to do, but because computers are so prevalent and cheap and kids are learning CAD and 3D printing and CNCing, we can now make products that weren't cost effective to make before that. And even old products have new life. None of us are done inventing new things. You have 3 examples here of sailboats. We've been sailing for 1,000 years. You'd think everything had been done already, but because that we have new materials, new computer programs, better understanding of hydrodynamics and aerodynamics and the interaction between the two, these new boats that you're looking at here, all of them are flying. They're not in the water, the hulls are out of the water and they are flying. So there's a lot to be done looking at new and old products. But if you look at my history, there has always been a common thread, and that is due to an accident of opportunity, I became a couple of pages ahead of my peers on the use of computers in the engineering field. And since I was ahead of them, I always got the job and the task, and therefore I got more and more ahead. To finally, I had a wide margin, and at a time when there was no computer science at university. It was a math degree that you had to get. And while the subject and employers changed, the skills in that area sent me ahead of my peers. And something like that is going to happen to you in your career. So the final slide is, well, there's no more audio visuals. This is just me talking to you right now. The opportunities that are in industries that are growing, let me restate that. What you want to look for are growing industries, because that's the place where you can get a job and you don't have to wait for someone to retire or die to get it. And the best opportunities are in areas that are so new and growing so fast that there's no certifications for what you do yet. Look for those in your career. As an employer, I am less impressed with paper credentials as I am with those who have done something unusual. Elon Musk says similar things. Look them up. There's good videos on that. If you can't find a job to your liking, make one. You hear a lot about young entrepreneurs starting right out of college and universities, but that road is littered with business failures and burned out people. I'd like you to consider an alternative, and that is work for the best in your industry. Absorb their culture of effective work habits and winning attitudes. Learn from the best. Learn business practices to be proud of. Watch for a hole in the industry, and especially one that your employer is not interested in filling. Then jump in, bring your experience, industry perspective, and contacts with you. That was my path to success. I just didn't know it at your stage in my career. Your path won't be the same as mine, but it will probably be just as convoluted, and at least to the casual observer. It's an exciting time to be starting a career, and I envy you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's wonderful to hear how Mohawk helped to launch your career and what actions you found to be helpful after graduation. You've had an incredible journey and had incredible success and had a little fun and used your creative instincts along the way. So congratulations. We really appreciate the time that you've taken this afternoon to share with our students. Before we head off, I would like to extend a big thank you to our guest speakers and the organizers of Meet the Grad. This event would not be possible without your support. And once again, I would like to thank all the students and recent graduates for joining us today. We hope you enjoy your sessions and connecting with Mohawk graduates. Thank you and have a great afternoon.